Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Adora, and if you're just coming across this channel for the first time, thank you very much for stopping by. So I did a video some months back. I was actually talking about my experience as a healthcare assistant in the UK, and I was just detailing everything I went through. In fact, it was actually a video on why I quit working as a healthcare assistant. And this was like many months back. I can't remember exactly when I did it, but for the benefit of those who have not seen that video, I'm going to leave a link to the video in the description box so that you can watch it later at your own convenience and see how exactly it connects to this particular story I'm about to tell you. So recently I saw a comment in the comment section, and it was from a lady, and she actually asked for my email address. So I think she dropped this message some weeks back, quite a long time, but I didn't see it on time. I only just saw it recently. So I sent her my email because she said it was urgent and she needed to talk to someone. So I sent her my email address, and she immediately sent me a long message. Okay, her email she sent to me, the email she sent to me was actually detailing her experience as a healthcare assistant. And I must confess, when I read her story, I thought, I initially thought my experience was just like, I think this is the worst I have heard so far, or this is probably the worst I am going to ever hear about any healthcare assistant working in that sector. But when she told me her own story, I was like, wow, that means mine is really good then. Like mine is much better. My experience is a bit on the softer side. So she sent me an email, and she actually said I should say her story out. I should talk about her story. I should just let people know what exactly she has gone through, but she does not want her name and anything about her personal info to be exposed, of which I consented to. So dating back to January this year, 2022, this lady came into the UK. She came from Africa. So when she came in, she actually came in through this route, the healthcare assistant route. And she came in through this route through an agency, got into the UK, and not quite long after she came in, she started working. Now, she was very excited about working. That the very first day when they called her to shadow for a shadow shift. A shadow shift is the very first shift you are expected to perform with a more experienced staff. You're performing alongside a more experienced staff to put you through, all the do's and don'ts of the job, to actually teach you what to do on the practical aspect of the job. So on her first shift as a shadow staff, she said that was actually where she started to see the red light, the red sign, but because of her excitement of getting a job and all that, she decided to just wave it aside. Now, this is a girl that is very, very critical about everything that comes around her or happens to her. She reads meaning to everything. So she said that on that first shift, she saw some signs that would have actually made her to just stop at that point. But she felt that with time, things were going to get better. Okay, then she started working in this very care home. Initially, when she started working in this care home, she was told that once they resume in the morning, they resume for their morning shifts, which I think that was 7:45 in the morning. Immediately you resume, you drop your bag in the a staff room where they keep their bags and they change their uniform. You drop your bag, you drop your stuff, then you change into your healthcare assistant scrubs. If you're not wearing it from home, you can wear it there. So this particular day, she was changing because she didn't wear her uniform from home. She wore a mufti and decided to change to her uniform at work. So this particular morning, she was changing from her house, her mufti to her uniform. And while she was changing, she discovered that the zip to her, her trousers, her trousers was kind of broken, was a bit bad. So it was taking time for her to fix it. She was trying to fix it, and it was taking quite a while. And all of a sudden, someone just opened the door, popped in their head. It was a lady, and just shouted, "Hey, come on, we're waiting for you." So she was like, oh, I'm coming. But she didn't find that a bit funny, the way the lady shouted at her. At least she expected the lady to have said something like, excuse me, you're running late, we're waiting for you, or something like that. But the lady just opened the door, not even knocking, just opened the door straight to her, hey, come on, we're waiting for you. So anyway, she rushed, just managed her trouser like that and went out. So that very first day, she was supposed to do a 12-hour shift. Then some hours into the shift, she said she felt very tired. Now bear in mind, this is a shift, this is a job she hasn't done before, so she wasn't really used to the long hour thing. At some point, she got very tired, and she asked if she could take a break, just to rest her legs, as she's been standing for like so many hours, and she needed to like sit down. And when she actually went to ask the senior that was on duty, the senior was like, sorry, there's no time for that, we're short of staff, we need everybody to be working, there's no time to take a break or no time to go out. She said she was like, okay, no problem. So she went back to work, and she managed through that day. That was her first shift. She managed through the day. So this continued for quite a while. So many days later, one day she came to work again, and she was working and working and working, and at some point she got really, really tired. And she talked to the senior on duty that day. She was like, can I just have a break? I'm really tired. My legs are aching me and all that. And the senior was like, I'm sorry. There's no time to take a break. We're all on duty. It's a very busy morning, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, her legs are killing her. That she's just tired of walking around. That the job was just too much, and she has not rested. So when the senior turned her back, she went back to work. And this time, she was working with another lady who is a staff there, but who has been on the job for a longer time. And the lady asked her, have you just come back from your break? And this girl was like, break? What break? And the girl said, you're supposed to take your break from so time to so time. Like there are intervals at which you go for break. And this girl was like, break? No, I'm not aware of that. And the other lady asked her, that is the one that has been there for a long time. She was like, haven't you been taking breaks? This guy just came. She was like, no, that I've not been taking breaks. And that each time I even tell them I need a break, I need to go for, have a rest. They're always like, no, there's no time for that. It's a very busy day. Go back to work and all that. So the lady was surprised. It was like, no, you're supposed to have your breaks. You're supposed to have 30 minutes at this point, 30 minutes at this point, just for you to be able to, get refreshed and revive yourself and all that and get back to work. That if you haven't been taking your break, I think you need to speak to the manager about it. So this Nigerian girl was like, what? So you mean I actually had, and I haven't been taking my breaks? She just comes to work and she works all day, every time, all hours, like non-stop. And at that point, it dawned on her that she actually sees other staff work out and they come back after a while, like after a long while. So that could be their break they were taking, and she was not aware of it. So she wasn't taking breaks and she was just walking. And she now even said that at some point, they would go out for like 30 minutes for a long time, and she'll be looking for everybody. Like, where is everybody? Where's everybody? And that at that time, she will be like the only staff on the floor, on that particular floor where she has to work. So this thing continued for a long time. And on this particular day, she said, oh, she came to work, and in the morning, even before the shift started, she went straight to the manager and told the manager, see, I've been working for quite a while now, and I wasn't even aware I had to take breaks and all that. And the manager was like, when you were interviewed, were you not told about the breaks? Didn't you see it on your contracts that you needed to have some breaks and all that? She said, well, yeah, her contract letter, she did not really read it so much. She will be honest, she didn't really read it. She only signed it. So she wasn't aware of the break thing there in the contract form. But that apart from that, she has not really heard anybody discuss or say anything about taking breaks and all that. So when she got this part cleared with the manager, she went back to work and was happy that, okay, at least that aspect has been taken care of. Now she'll be going on her breaks and getting herself stronger and better after each break. So that afternoon, she went for her break. She when it was time, she actually told her colleague on duty that she was going for a break, and she had to leave. So when she left, the senior on duty came again. I was like, they asked of her, And they said, oh, she's just been on her break. And the senior was very mad. Like, who permitted her to go on break? Was she supposed to go on break today? You know? And when she actually came back, the senior just lashed out on her, like, we're not supposed to go on break, you know, we're very short of staff here, everyone is busy, there's no time, nobody even has time to go on breaks, and you're supposed to be at work, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, but I just confirmed with the manager that I'm supposed to go on break, and I haven't been having my breaks for a long time, so this, you know, today I just had to do it because I get tired every time. And immediately she said she had just confirmed with the manager she had to take a break. At that point, the senior care assistant was very, very mad. She was very angry. Why was she angry? She felt a bit challenged. Like, I told you not to do this, and you had the guts to go and meet the manager. You had the guts to go and, you know, report me or something. She felt she was actually reported. But this lady said that was not how she put it. That was not what happened. That she only told the manager that she hasn't been taking breaks because she wasn't aware of it, or rather because she was ignorant of the fact that it was written there in her agreement letter. But the senior took it the other way around. She misunderstood the whole thing and thought this lady actually reported her to the manager, and so she didn't find it funny. And that was where this lady's predicament actually started from. This, the senior care assistant started to pick on her. She was picking on her for every little thing, every little mistake that she would have been corrected was an avenue to blame her, was an avenue to shout at her in front of people, was an avenue to always criticize her. And she found out that no matter what she did, it was not enough to please her senior. It was not enough to, you know, to make her feel like she's done a good job and all that. So anyway, she continued like this because she just felt like, well, it's one of those things you see at the workplace. You just have to manage that. So on this particular day, this lady came for her shift, and she had just worn her uniform, put on her apron, and she was putting on her gloves when one of the staff came to her and said, oh, room so and so needs someone right there in the room, that the buzzer has been going on for ages and they want her to attend to that room. She was like, okay, fine. She was walking towards the room, and all of a sudden, this same senior just walked up to her and said, listen, the gentleman in that room doesn't really like, you know, your color. I don't want to call, and I don't want to specify any color name, but he said the gentleman in that room doesn't really like people of your color, so be very careful. You know, he doesn't really like it. Just be careful, just be careful. So she tried to downtone the whole thing, like to just make it sound like it doesn't really matter, just do your thing and come out there. So this girl walked into the room. Immediately she walked into the room, the man was sleeping. So she tried to, like, you know, put off the buzzer on the wall first because it was going on and on for long. So immediately she pressed the buzzer on the wall to turn it off. The man just got up. And once he sighted her, and it wasn't the color he wanted, he shouted, he screamed, and he was raining a lot of abusive words on her, especially racist words. Leave my room, I don't want to see you, you dirty, I don't want to see you, you disgusting, and he was talking and talking, and she was like, okay, that's fine, I'm leaving. And even while she was walking back a bit, the man was still saying, leave, and so she was actually scared at that point. She walked out. Immediately she walked out of the room to, like, the general lounge where, you know, where they have the dining and all that, where the other residents come out and just sit down to relax. Immediately she walked into that place. She saw the other staff sitting there with the senior. They were staring at her and they were laughing. Like they were just staring at her, looking towards that direction of the room where she was coming out from, and they were all laughing. Some were laughing out loud, while some were just giggling and pretending they were pressing their phones, but they were actually having fun with that very pathetic situation. So she came out from the room and she went straight to the senior and said, oh, look at what has just happened. He has just asked me to leave. I don't know if I can attend to him and all that. And the senior was still telling her, you just have to go back and do the job. You just have to forget about what he's saying. Just close your ears to that. Go back. And she felt very uncomfortable. You know, this is someone who is actually asking you to leave. it's not even like he's just telling you to leave, but he's now shouting. And it's not like he's just shouting at you. To top up the insult, he is now, insulting you in those racist laws, and you are expected to just enjoy it and carry on your duty like nothing is happening. So she felt a bit uncomfortable. Anyway, she went back to the man's room, and the man was still talking and shouting. And at some point, he was trying to hit her. At some point, he was trying to kick her. And she was actually there to do his personal care. So she just decided to act like he wasn't there and do what she was asked to do. So that was one of the incidents that happened, and that went away. On another day, she came to work. She was actually helping to feed one of the residents that needed help in eating. So while she was feeding this particular woman, the buzzer to one of the rooms went off. Now, there were other staff around, but she discovered, or rather she realized, that each time she's on duty, they usually left the bulk of the job to her. Like they always call her. Let's say, for instance, her name is Elizabeth. Sorry, excuse me. Her name is not actually Elizabeth, but because I'm trying to be very discreet about her personal info, I'm just going to give her Elizabeth for the benefit of the story. So whenever Elizabeth is on duty, they will always, Elizabeth, room 1 wants someone in there. She will leave whatever she's doing and run to room 1. And sometimes even while she's in room 1, Elizabeth, room 18 needs someone. She will leave room 1 and run to room 18. And this was how she was just always on her feet, moving from one room to the other. So on this particular day, she was feeding this resident, an elderly lady who has difficulty eating. And one of the rooms went off, the buzzer went off. And they just called her, Elizabeth's room, whatever needs your help, please can you go and attend to them? And she was like, I'm feeding her. And they just told her, please, just hurry up, just a minute, just to see what he wants, and just come out, just come out. So she left the food, excuse me. She left the food and quickly rushed over to the room to attend to whoever was in the room. And by the time she finished, it was like 4 minutes gone, 4 to 5 minutes had already passed. By the time she came back to feed this woman, the food was already cold. So she decided to take the food back to the microwave and warm it a little bit. Now she finished warming it, brought it back to the dining table, and decided to continue feeding the woman. And the woman lashed out at her. Get out! Now the food is cold. And she told the woman, I've just warmed it. Of course, I knew it was cold before I left, but I've just warmed it in the microwave. And the woman said, I don't want to eat anymore. It took you a long time to feed me. And she was trying to talk to the woman, beg her to eat, and the woman was not having any of it. So Elizabeth took the food back and decided to tell one of the staff about it. And the staff was like, don't worry about it. I'm going to feed her and all that. Now, at that point, Elizabeth was really getting very uncomfortable with all this. She was becoming very, it looked like she was an unwelcome guest in their midst. In the first place, she was the only person of her color at work. And she felt a bit out of place. She felt like she was not really belonging, in the workplace setting. Like each time they go on break and they're all having lunch, they usually sat down together in one corner, and she always sat on her own. And sometimes when she tries to mix up with them, she finds out that they are actually not welcoming her into their circle. Like when they're even gisting and she kind of contributes, nobody responds to that particular thing or point she has just made. They just carry on like she's not even there. So anyway, she continued at work until one day she came to work, and she actually got to work 5 minutes late. So immediately she got to work, she went straight to, because she already knew what she was expected to do from day to day. So she went straight to her duty point and stayed working. And at that point, one of the staff, her fellow colleague, came to her and said, Elizabeth, have you just come? Have you just arrived? And she said, yes. And the girl was like, you're 5 minutes late. And Elizabeth said, oh yes, I'm very sorry about that. This. And the girl was like, okay. And immediately the girl went straight to report to the manager. So the manager sent for Elizabeth, and Elizabeth explained to her, I'm really sorry, I'm just 5 minutes late. And the manager was like, okay, that's fine. 5 minutes late, it's not so much, but in case of next time, please, you know how busy this floor is. Always try to come late and come early and all that. So she went back to work. And then when that colleague of hers saw her back at work, the colleague was like, what did the manager say? And Elizabeth innocently said, well, she just said I should go back to work next time, I shouldn't come late and all that. And the colleague looked disappointed. She looked like she wanted a more serious kind of caution to be given to Elizabeth, or she wanted something a little bit on the harsher side, like a harsher punishment. She didn't just expect the manager to just dismiss Elizabeth's case like that. So that very day, that shift, Elizabeth's life was made miserable by her colleague. Her colleague was complaining about everything and every little thing that passes by, just like that. The whole of that day was messed up. It all went up, even up to the extent of calling Elizabeth when she was not supposed to be on duty to report to duty. She said on one particular day, she was in church on a Sunday morning when her phone rang. And she picked up the phone and the person on the other side said, Elizabeth, can you come and cover the shift, please? We are short of staff today. This person has just called in sick. This person has just called in sick, so we don't have enough people to come. And she was like, but I'm not supposed to work today. And secondly, I'm off. It was her off day. And the staff on the other side was like, yes, I understand, but we have to help each other at times like this. You just have to come, please. So Elizabeth was trying to explain to her, listen, I have my life. I have a life outside of work. I have already done like 3 full days at a row before having this off. I need some time to rest and get myself together. So when the staff on the other side knew that Elizabeth was not really budging and she was not really accepting, the order, because it was actually an order initially, according to Elizabeth, when the lady called, she said, Elizabeth, you need to be at work today, blah, 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 blah. So when she discovered that Elizabeth was not really, falling for it, her tone became a bit harsher. And she was like, I'm sorry, but you just need to be at work today. We're short of staff, we need people, and da 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 da. And Elizabeth said, anyway, I'm really sorry, but I can't come to work. I need to take some time off. I also need to rest. And she dropped the phone. And she didn't go to work that day. So she said to herself she was going to make sure she observes all of her off days. Like, she's not dropping anything. Because when she starts work, it's always like 12 hours to 12 hours like that, back to back, no time to rest. So she needed enough time for herself. So one other day, she was sleeping at about 3 a.m. They called her to come and cover someone for a night shift. So the staff actually came to work, but midway into her shift, she had an accident in the workplace. She fell off the stairs or whatever. She had something happen to her, and they had to rush her to A&E, so Elizabeth should come and cover up for her. And Elizabeth was like, but I'm not supposed to be working today. Like, I'm supposed to actually be working tomorrow. That was the next day. So I need to have enough rest this night so I can come to work tomorrow. And they were like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. You can come now and just continue your shift all the way till the next day. And Elizabeth, well, I can't do that because I'm already supposed to be doing a 12-hour shift tomorrow. So if I start work right now, which is like 3 a.m., that will now be like working 3 a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. the next day. And, she said she was not able to do it. So she didn't go to work. In the morning, when it was 8 o'clock, she was at work. And when she got to work, the staff, the senior or whoever that called her was really angry and was shouting in front of everybody. I called you last night. Do you think you're the only one that needs your comfort? We all need our comfort. We all need our bed also. That anytime you're asked to come to work, you have to come to work irrespective of what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And at that point, it occurred to me that, yeah, this is the time when you really need to go back to your contracts later and read what it states there. This is the point where you really need to remember everything, the terms and conditions that were given to you before you started your work. Were you asked or were you told you were going to be working back to back, non-stop, and that you'll be needed at every point in time, irrespective of if you're busy or not, or whether you are available or you're not available? Or was there a discussion that you would only be able to attend or to work at social shifts or social days and leave the other days off work? So these are the kind of things I really don't understand with, especially this new set of healthcare assistants that are coming into the country right now. I don't know what some of your terms and conditions are. I don't know what some of your contract states. Does it state that you will work Like every time you like, every time they like, not you like, every time they like, at anyhow, without, I really don't understand. So because when she sent this message, I had to I told her we really need to talk. I can't be, because I knew it was going to go deeper. It was not just about sending email and ask me to go and talk about your story. So I really need to hear some details from her. So I asked her to send me her number. Let's talk. And I called her and I asked her, were you told you were supposed to work certain days and have certain days off? She said yes, that she was told she was supposed to do 4 long days and 3 days off, like that. But some weeks she does as much as 5 long days, sometimes 5 days and a night, sometimes 5 days and then the last day, 6 day, half day job. But she has never really stuck to her 4 long days, never, since she started working there. So at that point, she was now beginning to ask questions from her colleagues, especially from colleagues that started this same job with her at the same time, to find out how their own shifts are. And she discovered that a lot of her colleagues were actually asked to do 3 long days, 4 days off. 3 long days, 4 days off. Or if you're a night staff, you do 3 long nights and then 4 nights off, like that. But it was only her that was doing 4 long days, and then they would be slapping her with different extra shifts that she didn't even plan for. So at this point, I was like, well, you really need to sit down with your manager or whoever it is that, is your senior over there, they're like the most senior, and you guys should address these things, because it looks like you are overworking yourself, and it's not really to your best interest. But like I said, I don't know what these terms, what the agreement of some of these new healthcare assistants coming in. I don't know. I don't know what they actually told the people. I don't know what most of you guys have been told to do at work, or what you're expected to. I don't know if most of you guys have actually signed that you want to do overtime like this. I really don't know what the whole agreement thing is, but judging from her story, it seems like she was actually picked out for most of these extra shifts alone. Now, apart from this idea of her being invited to work when she did not plan for it, she also mentioned the idea of always being discriminated against. Always. She said at some point they were giving awards at work, like if you come to work early for a period of time, at the end of the week they will just call you out to give you an award. All this were just to, like, just little incentives to make you feel good and to appreciate you and encourage the staff. But that she tried it on several weeks. Or at about 3 weeks, she decided to go to work 10 minutes before time. And each time she gets to work, she knew she was always the first to be at work. But for some reasons, at the end of the week, when it's time to give the little accolades they give to those that came to work early, they will just give it to someone else that she was very, very sure came came after her. She always knew she was always the first to turn up at work. But when it was time to give all these little showers of praise and all that, they gave it to someone else. And the first time she didn't say anything about it. The third time she had to speak up, and she actually told the management, but I've been coming in earlier, and even look at it. Look, this is the time I usually, when they write the register the timing, you can go back and check the times I have been coming in and all that. And the manager was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Don't worry, we'll see what we can do about it next time. Oh, next time. So does it mean that all the time she has been coming early, it didn't really count? She was actually picking up all these little faults here and there, all these little issues here and there. Some of the issues you might actually think they don't matter, they don't count. Are you not there to work? Just go and work and forget about what you do. But we are humans. Little things like this can affect you. Little things like this can actually break you. You never can tell how far they can actually go. And not everybody can handle their mental health properly. Not everybody can actually deal with mental health issues. So little things like this matter in a workplace. And then the one she actually said that made me feel really bad and emotional for her was when she talked about she said she was always being addressed as that black girl that just started work, that black girl that just resumed, that black girl. Like, she didn't understand why they couldn't address her by her name. Like, she had a tag, a name tag on her shirt, like every other person. So she doesn't know everybody's name there at work. So if she comes close to you and she wants to talk to you, she just looks at your name tag and then she calls you by your name. Why couldn't they address her by her name? Why did they always have to address her as that black girl? That sometimes they even say it in a mocking way. Like, she said she walked into it was her break time, so she went into the kitchen to make some tea, a cup of tea for herself. Or while she was there, and they were discussing, and someone said, I think I left the key with that black girl that just came, that black girl. And at that point she lost it, and she said, excuse me, don't address me as that black girl. I have a name. I have a name. Call me by my name and I will answer. And they just giggled and walked away. Not even, I'm sorry or whatever. They just giggled and walked away. And another part, she brought food for lunch, and it was cold. So she decided to warm the food in the microwave. And while she was warming it, you know, our African food now, the way it smells because of our seasonings and all that ingredients, African ingredients, it was having our African aroma everywhere. And these people got so angry. What's smelling? What's stinking? What's that? And all that. And she was trying to explain to them, no, it's my food. I'm really sorry about it. It's my food. And one of them was like, it stinks. Can you take that food out there, please? Can you take it outside? Can you go and eat out there? At that point, she said, no. She has had it up to here, that she felt really insulted. She felt embarrassed. Like, yeah, it's my food and I'm going to eat it. You don't have to tell me to take my food, take that thing out there and go and eat outside. Like, go and eat outside in the cold. Go and eat outside. She did not really find that funny. That there were a lot of things she talked about. A lot of things. She even went up to talk about the idea of being underpaid. Every month, her salary was never completed. It's either £10, it's off here, £20, it's off here, just like that. And each time she talks about it, each time she brings it to their notice, they're always like, oh, don't worry, we'll carry it over to the next month, which they never do. And each time she, confides in her colleagues, the ones she could trust a little bit, to ask them about certain things she's going through. Are they also experiencing it? And when they tell her no, she's like, so why only her? And then when she takes it up to the management to ask them, look at what I'm experiencing, and every other person is not going through that, they get really, really mad at her. They feel like, why should she challenge? They feel she's challenging them. They actually feel challenged. Like, why would she challenge them? Why would she raise issues like this? But these are issues that are concerning her. These are issues that are affecting her. So she feels the need to talk. But sometimes, in some workplaces, they find it uncomfortable when you are challenging their decision, challenging their commands, challenging their order. They just expect you to just follow the order and move on. That's it. So that is the story of my African sister who has just been in the UK. For what, if I were to be in her shoes, I will start thinking of either moving on to another company, or maybe moving on to another company. But what's the assurance you will not face the same thing there? Honestly, I don't know. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining in. If you have any contribution towards this particular story, please kindly leave it in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. Have a nice week. Bye.